Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves a track by an act named Deadwater titled Love Me, Hate Me. And if we switch over to here we have ourselves a track on YouTube and we're going to listen through it from start till finish. We're going to hear what we think. I should note that I have listened to Deadwater's music before and reviewed it, so it's going to be good to check out more. But yeah, let's go. Ah, yeah. Really kind of invoking that early 90s Seattle grunge.
Go away, turn the page.
Very tense.
I need a friend. I'm sorry. Love me.
Modulation?
Hate me. Love me. Hate me. Fall from grace.
See, I thought we were going to go bigger there for a moment, but I suppose.
Don't hate. Not okay. Play my game. Love me. Hate me. Love me. Hate me.
Great bit of development there with the solo.
Love me, hate me, love me, hate me, hang around.
Ah, string plucks. Well, not string plucks, like staccatos.
Stare at the ground. I'm the same. Love me, hate me, love me, hate me.
Lovely should I say natural crescendo there, how things perked up like that. Good show of dynamic range.
It's okay. I'm alright. Turn me up. Turn this off.
Cool, I mean, I'm going to have another listen through that because I feel a little bit conflicted about what I think the track is about, but once I've done that, we'll have a look into the conclusion. And welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Deadwater titled Love Me, Hate Me. Now, what do I think this track is about? I think it's about someone, I mean, I'm kind of trying to gauge whether I should follow what the video is trying to infer, as I assume that is directly associated, or whether I should take it purely for the music. If I was to take it purely for the music, it seems like someone who is struggling with the condition they're in, they're trying to interact with someone else. They're just trying to have a connection, I suppose, with that other person, regardless of whether or not they like them or not. It's more about being meaningful to that other person at all, despite the difficulties that they might go through, despite whether or not they want to play the game, whether or not you see them at their best or worst. I suppose if I was to infer what I got from the music video, I'd assume that maybe with the dynamic of the three people being involved, with the woman clearly trying to get with the other guy and the initial guy not super stoked about it, it kind of maybe that the person wishes they could have that kind of relationship with the girl that the other person has, and they want to have that no matter. I'm not sure about that one, but we'll take that take of mine as what I think the track is about, and we'll move on to the vocal style, because I think the almost melancholy nature of the vocals is very fitting for the way that the track sounds with its chord progressions and like the overall tone and textures involved, as well as the lyrics. I think it's someone who is just maybe borderline apathetic in the sense that they're just maybe given up on trying to feel things or being able to feel things, and maybe there's a bit of codependency involved. But like they just, this other person, they're really sounding like they're struggling with the situation. The performance was authentic. We have repetition in regards to songwriting fundamentals of like the verse melodies, and the hook lines are identifiable and easy to follow along to. I think there's a difference in the approach, but in the various sort of intensities there, which helps distinguish the different sectors, like the verse and the chorus. And basically, the inclusion of the solo section allowed us a break from the tone of the vocals to want to welcome it back later on for the last little bit of extra context within the track, and that last sort of stanza that we had. And ultimately, I think we were comfortable in our vocal range. We showed a solid understanding of like how we needed to sing in order to be able to approach a track like this and the subject matter. And I've got absolutely no complaints about it. It makes a lot of sense to me. The track at 3 minutes 16 is within that 2 to 4 minute sweet spot, so it's nice and comfortable. There's absolutely no dragging the chain with anything. We clearly know what we want and what we're aiming for with the tone of the guitars, the bass, the drums, as well as some of the interesting synth pads that we had in the first verse and in the second half. The staccato strings, those kind of quick bows there were an interesting, unexpected addition in terms of the instrumental layers. And then, of course, we had that solo section there where we had a solo that kind of tried to rise, but ended up sort of being crushed by the weight of its own melodic passages. And I think that the way it sounded, like with the guitars, for example, with the use of these sort of power chords, and the slightly crispy, overdriven, palm muted parts as well. There's just an underlying tension the entire time with those tones there. We also didn't necessarily stick with a traditional major or minor key. I think we modulated between positions there in a way which kind of made it sound like it was also like a dream sequence, or rather a nightmare sequence. And ultimately, that made a lot of sense there musically when we think about the lyrics and the vocals. But also, I mean, the drums were fantastic. There was a great tone to the drums, which is as much a post-production thing as a performance thing. We were really tight with the closed hi-hat, sort of snare and kick grooves with a really fantastic, just the sense of unison with the rest of the rhythmic and harmonic elements. It was great. The backing there to the vocals. The drums were tight, but they never tried to overtake the importance of the lead vocal ports. And it's good. Really nice. I mean, the bass line as well that we had in there was obeying the fundamentals well, being respectful to the root notes and everything like that. But it also just filled in that sub-range really well and niched itself nicely within the frequency spectrum. The synth pads that we had, in addition to the strings, which are sort of more sub-layers and anything like that, or bits of added development compositionally, came in and they just added to the intensity and the drama of the piece. And we never really knew where it was going at any point. But that big solo section, again, with the really feisty tone on the guitars, it was really intriguing to follow the journey this track had, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to do so. But the theme itself does sound dire. It does sound like the people involved, or the story is about woe and struggle. And I think when you put all the different bits together, you can link them fairly easily. I think that's good songwriting. And we followed the fundamentals and we added our own bit of spice to it. I'm starting to establish a style that Deadwater is comfortable with. And that's just so important when you're trying to have a career. So, well done. I don't think there was any filler, and I don't think there was a note out of place. Finally, the studio recording, mixing, and mastering was great. Really solid effort here. We were comfortable within the actual performance itself. It sounded like just a really clean take. And there was even a bit of sort of sizzle later on with the limiter potentially being pushed. But I think all in all, the dynamic range to this mix and master was really fantastic. The vocals sounded nice and clear in the mix, easy to follow along with. A bit of reverb and kind of a wispy nature to them, but that's okay. The things were nicely notched in the frequency spectrum and the stereo field as well. No resonances, and the music surrounded you. and it was still nice and loud without pumping, so the limiting and bus compression was handled. It's a commercial grade release. I'm really satisfied with what I've heard from Deadwater today, and I wish them the best of luck in future. And thank you very much for watching my review of this track from Deadwater titled Love Me, Hate Me, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via the various social medias and the YouTube page. I should also note that all of Deadwater's singles are currently available on their Spotify, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as need to help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.